What if you could package an application into a box and run that exact same box on almost any computer? That's the idea behind Docker. Docker helps developers package applications together with everything they need to run, making them easier to share, test, and deploy. This is Docker for Beginners, an autism-friendly coding tutorial designed to teach at a calm pace with no unnecessary jargon. By the end of this video, you'll understand the core ideas behind Docker and run your first containers. First, let's look at a working example of what we're going to do. By the end of this video, you'll be able to run Docker containers like this one. We'll also launch a real web server and access it from a browser. Don't worry if none of these commands make sense yet. We'll build up to them one step at a time. Before we start running containers, we need to understand what a container actually is. A container is similar to a shipping container. Instead of transporting physical goods, it transports software and everything that software needs to run. That includes the application itself, its dependencies, and the configuration it needs. Containers are portable because they can be moved between systems without changing what's inside. They're also lightweight compared to traditional virtual machines because they share the host operating system rather than running a full operating system of their own. Finally, containers run in isolated environments, which helps prevent applications from interfering with each other. Microwin, you now know what a container actually is. Pause the video here if you'd like a little more time to review the concept before continuing. Before continuing, make sure Docker Desktop is installed and running on your computer. If you haven't installed it yet, you'll find a link in the description. Now that you know what a container is, let's run one. Open a terminal and enter docker run hello-world. This command tells Docker to find the hello-world image, create a container from it, and run it. If the image isn't already on your computer, Docker will automatically download it first. After a few moments, you should see a message that begins with "Hello from Docker." That message confirms that Docker successfully downloaded an image, created a container, and ran an application inside it. Microwin, you've successfully run your first Docker container. Even with that one command, Docker is already doing a lot of work behind the scenes. Next, we'll look at the difference between images and containers so you can understand exactly what happened when you ran this command. When you ran the hello-world command, Docker didn't create the container out of thin air. It created the container from an image. An image is a template that Docker uses to create containers. Think of it like a blueprint for a house. The blueprint isn't the house itself, but it contains the instructions needed to build one. In the same way, an image isn't a running application, it's the template Docker uses to create a running container. One image can create many containers. For example, thousands of people can use the same Nginx image, but each person runs their own container. Images are also reusable. Once an image exists, it can be shared, downloaded, and used repeatedly without being rebuilt every time. Microwin, you now understand another of Docker's most important concepts. Next, we'll look at where Docker images come from and how Docker finds them automatically when you run a command. So where did the hello-world image come from? By default, Docker looks for images on a service called Docker Hub. Docker Hub is a repository where developers and organizations publish Docker images for others to use. You can think of it as being similar to an app store, but for Docker images. When you ran docker run hello-world, Docker checked whether the image already existed on your computer. When Docker didn't find that image, Docker automatically downloaded it from Docker Hub. That's one of the reasons Docker is so convenient. Instead of building everything from scratch, developers can start with images that already exist. There are images available for web servers, databases, programming languages, development tools, and much more. Microwin, you now know where Docker images come from and how Docker finds them automatically. Next, we'll use another image from Docker Hub to launch a real web application inside a container. Let's use Docker to run a real web server. Enter the following command: docker run-d-p 8080:80 nginx. This command tells Docker to download the nginx image if necessary, create a container from that image, and run it in the background. The -p option connects port 8080 on your computer to port 80 inside the computer. That allows your web browser to communicate with the web server running inside Docker. Now open your browser and visit http://localhost port 8080. You should see the nginx welcome page. If you do, congratulations. You're running a real web server inside a Docker container. And the best part is that you didn't have to install nginx directly on your computer. Docker packaged everything the application needed and ran it in an isolated environment. Microwin, you've successfully launched a real application using Docker. Let's review what we've learned. Docker helps developers package applications together with everything they need to run. A Docker image acts as a template or blueprint. A container is a running instance created from that image. Docker Hub stores and distributes images, making them easy to share and download. And with just a few commands, Docker can run real applications in isolated environments without requiring you to install those applications directly on your computer. You now understand the core ideas behind Docker and how containers, images, and Docker Hub work together. In the next video, we'll take the next step and build our own Docker image from scratch. Instead of using images created by someone else, you'll create your own application, package it into an image, and run it inside a container. If this kind of direct autism-friendly tutorial is helpful, subscribing is a great way to find your way back here. You can also support the channel and find additional resources at patreon.com/autisticoder. Thank you for watching. Let's keep learning and growing together.